This is the No Nonsense Agile Podcast. Join us for discussions on agile product development and leadership with world-class experts who provide valuable insights and practical advice for industry professionals. Subscribe now to learn the latest trends and best ideas in the field. In this episode, we announce that Donna Spencer is replacing Shane Gibson as co-host. Donna describes her experience as a product designer and user experience researcher, and Shane reflects on what he's learned about product development and leadership from over 100 interviews with international experts. We discuss our ongoing commitment to delivering deep, pragmatic, and valuable insights on agile product development and leadership, while avoiding the shallow, rambling, and self-promotional content you often get at conferences and other podcasts.
Welcome to the No Nonsense Agile Podcast. I'm Shane Gibson.
And I'm Murray Robinson.
And I'm Donna Spencer.
This is going to be a different episode for us and a short one. We are having a changing of the guard. So Shane is leaving us and Donna is taking over. Donna, we've had you on before, but can you introduce yourself to our audience again?
So I'm Donna Spencer. I am a product designer. I've done this for 25 years or so, have worked mostly in some version of consulting, whether it was freelancing for myself or working in consulting agencies. I also have taught Agile at postgrad level for one of the online universities. I'm actually fascinated with how people work together, which is why I'm really interested in both design work and a really wide range of ways of working.
So Shane, what's going on with you? Why are you moving on?
So it's this time. Everything I do is an experiment. This has been a great experiment. I've had shitloads of fun. I've learnt more than I've learnt in many other ways. But I got to the stage where there's other things that I want to spend my time on now. I want to finish my book. I want to focus on the startup. There's a couple of other things I want to try. We've been doing this for 112 episodes, 2 years. You wear the majority of the effort, but I just got to the stage where I was like, yeah, I'm done. I need to go and do something else. So time for a change.
So what are the highlights been for you?
So the highlight for me is talking to some of my heroes. Yeah, you have this innate ability to be able to get some of the most amazing guests to come and talk to us. There's a bunch of people that I've followed for years. I've always wanted to talk to, and I got to do that. The next one is there's been a bunch of things I've learned. For me, the podcast really was an hour-and-a-half investment to learn from some of the best people in the world for free education and get to ask questions where I don't understand. We started off in Agile, and then we moved on to product, and then we moved on to leadership and then organizational design. So we've naturally gone through series where we're focused on different things because they interest us. And then you've been able to find guests that can come in from that domain and talk to us and teach us about it. So that has been amazing. A downside is I've got a list of about 130 books that I have to read. But yeah, it's just been an awesome education. I've learned heaps. Bang for buck. These have been some of the best hours for my upskilling that I've ever spent.
Yeah. What about you, Donna, as an audience member?
So I listen to a lot of podcasts. Like my podcast app is chock-a-block full. I don't actually listen to very many design podcasts, a couple, not many, but I listen widely across a lot of topics. And yours is actually completely genuinely the only ways of working podcast that I listen to regularly, even though I'm a couple of episodes behind. And it's because I always found it at the right level of pragmatism for me, for the way I like learning and the way I like to hear from people. It's never been airy-fairy and vague, but it's also not too in the weeds. I haven't listened to every episode. I'm a little bit behind, but I've listened to a lot of episodes. And just across the board, like Shane, learned a lot. My rule for anything is if I'm 10 minutes in and I'm not going, wow, I want to really listen to this, I just turn it off. And I don't usually turn this one off, genuinely. So, yeah, when you reached out and asked if I'd been interested to co-host, I was like, yeah, this is a podcast that I genuinely like and listen to.
Yeah, I've got a lot out of doing this podcast so far. It's really expanded my thinking. It's given me a lot of concepts that I was interested in and I've been able to explore with world-renowned experts. So that's really good. I have really loved talking to people about organizational design and the different types of organizations you can have, because we get so trapped in our current situation that we can't even imagine that people could be doing things totally different. Things like Buurtzorg and Hire have been a real highlight for me. I think we have some different opinions about how to do things. I think that the more you edit out the fluff, the better it is. Shane was more on the just put it up there. That was actually very helpful when we started, because I was quite worried about things, and you just said, just get the basic podcaster microphone and we'll just record some stuff and put it up there and see how it goes.
Yeah, that was from Bob and Joff at Metacast, right? So when I started my Agile Data podcast many, many years ago, they were kind enough to give me some advice. And what they said was, don't go and invest in a lot of equipment. You're unlikely to have more than 5 episodes because most people start and don't do more than 5. And even if you carry on, nobody's going to listen to it. And therefore, don't overinvest in it. When people start complaining about the audio or start complaining about something, then fix it, because now you've got customers. And we also got to remember how we started. You posted on LinkedIn, what podcast should you listen to in the Agile space? And with your typical bluntness, I don't want to listen to bullshit. I think I replied with, I'm always interested in creating one. And you went, well, you just give it a go. And that's why we started it. And we were going to call it the No Bullshit Podcast, but it got vetoed.
That was a good way to get started. You're quite right. For starting something new, it's not worth putting a lot of time and effort into it if you don't know whether it's going to go or not. But we've actually had 82,500 downloads now, which is a lot of people. Like the last one with Jürgen, we had about 1,000 downloads. It's not Joe Rogan territory, but it's up there in the top 5% of podcasts, I think.
I was talking to somebody the other day that has a very, very popular data podcast, and they're in the mid 500s. If you put ads in it and monetize it, Murray, I want royalties for the first 112, right, mate?
Well, I'm sure you can have your $5. Look, you don't make money from ads on very niche podcasts like this. If we were going to talk about the sex lives of the rich and famous, we'd have 50,000 downloads per episode and you could put ads in that, but we're not going to do that. All right, is there anything else we want to talk about?
So we could put a call out for guest suggestions.
Yeah, we can do that. One of the things I object to most strongly with podcasts is when somebody comes on and is just selling their product. We had that happen to us once with a famous person, and I was not at all happy with that episode, but we try very hard to avoid having our company is so great, leadership type of things. We don't have football players come on. If you go to big Agile conferences, at least in Australia, there's a lot of business development managers and company heads standing up and basically giving this very general talk about how great they are. And I just don't get anything out of that. And I don't want that on this podcast.
So I don't know if you know, I started and ran UX Australia for 9 years, and my principle was the same. There were no speaking slots for sponsors. There were no speaking slots for anybody who wanted to sell anything. And sponsors would be like, but surely we get a speaking slot. And I'm like, surely you do not. You can put in a talk suggestion and I'm going to assess it with all the other talks on its merit of its content. But no, you are not standing up and boring my audience.
But the reason they do that is because that's how they can make a lot more money. And there's people who run these things professionally just to make money. Whereas we don't.
I made money. I just figured out my conference money structure in a way that wasn't entirely reliant on sponsors getting on stage.
I hate it when they pretend that the sponsors aren't presenting. And so the sponsor gets a customer to stand up and do an intro, and then the sponsor talks about their products and you've got somebody to front it for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. The reason I want to do this podcast, or the niche I think that we're addressing, is something deeper, something real, without all that salesy bullshit. Podcasts that really annoy me are just super, super rambly and vague. I don't like that either. I'm not a fan of joking around. I cut those things out.
I think 1114 should be a compilation of all my jokes that Murray cut out of every podcast. I mean, it's going to be a 10-hour podcast, that one, because I had so many great jokes. And rugby. Oh, that's sport. No humour, no rugby.
And conversations about the differences between Australia and New Zealand. It would take up hours.
Tell you what, there will not be any rugby conversation because I do not know a thing.
Good. That's probably all we need to say for now. We've had a little bit of a break while we've been going through these changes and thinking about things, but we will be talking to some great guests in the agile product design and leadership community. But I think just having a really good mix of practical agile stuff, design, product development, leadership will be really good. So I hope people will stick with us.
Excellent. I think that's good enough and I can stick a fork in it. And more importantly, this will be the first podcast where I get to say the last word.
Okay, Shane. Thanks for being a great co-host. That was the No Nonsense Agile podcast from Murray Robinson and Shane Gibson. If you'd like help to create high-value digital products and services, contact Murray at evolve.co. That's evolve with a 0. Thanks for listening.